afternoon. My name is Scott Milliman from the Interagency OPSEC support staff, and today we're going to talk about OPSEC and social networking sites. One of the things about social networking sites that most people hear is that we shouldn't be on them. We should stay away from them and be afraid of them, and that's not true. What you need to do is really just pay attention to what you're doing on them, and we're going to talk about that from an OPSEC perspective today. First off, we have to do a disclaimer, because one of the things we're going to talk about, actually many of the things we're going to talk about, is Facebook, MySpace, Bebo, Orkut, LinkedIn, a whole bunch of different sites is what we're going to be discussing. And the disclaimer is that none of them are any better or any worse than the others. We don't want you to think that it's okay to go to one but not the other. It's okay to go to any of them as long as you're smart about what you're posting. So who participates? That's always the big question. Well, you've got teenagers, college students. A lot of companies are out there participating. A lot of people that are deployed with the military, they're out there participating on these social networking sites. A lot of government employees, grandparents. Now that one scares me because I'm kind of afraid about Nana jumping up on my wall and posting stuff because it's just going to be embarrassing. But that's a different story. But there's also stuff like churches and other organizations that are out there posting on the internet and all over social networking sites. That's not bad. But there's other people too. The people you have to concern yourself with: pedophiles, stalkers, identity thieves, criminals, hackers, data thieves, and data brokers. They can get accounts just as easily as you can. They're out there for a different reason than you are. They're after your information. Here's an example. In February of 2009, MySpace kicked 90,000 convicted sex offenders off of its site. 90,000 convicted sex offenders. How would MySpace figure that out? They all used their real name, and they were all on sex offender registries. 90,000. So they kicked them off. How long do you think it was before, 89,999 of them came back and just used a different name? There's probably one idiot who didn't know what happened and just never went back. But there's a whole bunch of them that came back. How many are out there that MySpace didn't know about? That's the other concern. So we said we're going to talk about OPSEC. Well, OPSEC's a 5-step process that helps to identify and helps to protect our sensitive information. The 5-step process is as simple as identifying your critical information, identifying your threat, analyzing your vulnerabilities, assessing your risks, and then applying recommended countermeasures. Not too hard, 5 simple steps. But we're going to look at OPSEC from the perspective of a social network site. Let's look at the first step, our critical information. Our critical information is sensitive information about us that an adversary wants, maybe a bad guy, depending on how you want to categorize them. It's not necessarily just work stuff, though, and that's where people figure it has to be. Just work, that's all they want to know about. But what about you and your family? Is there information that you're posting that they might be able to use to get you to give up work? You see, your organization could very well be a hard target. So when I'm the adversary, I'd rather go after your family. I'd rather go after the soft target. I'd rather go after something that is the low-hanging fruit. Why work hard? I'll go after the easy target. Critical information, but it's regularly available, can be something as common as your phone number, your street address. Maybe you've posted your email address up on your MySpace or Facebook. What about your grade, salary, or job position? Military units, affiliations, photos of you and your coworkers. Stuff about what you do at work. We find this all the time. But we also find information where you're posting pictures of you, your family, your friends, maybe the name of the school, work, maybe the schedule that you're keeping. You're getting ready to go on a trip and you post that you're going on a trip. Maybe you're going to a conference of some type or a symposium where you're going to be out of town for an extended period of time, maybe as long as a week or two. We see pictures again. We find handwriting because of notes that you've scanned in and instead of just typing what it said. But what about your friends list, the networks that you associate with? Maybe certain online aliases you use in other avenues, like maybe in blogs or chat rooms or other places, but you're posting them up on a different social networking site. If you list your interests, like your hobbies, your likes, your dislikes, maybe I'll social engineer you. Maybe I'll have the same interests. Maybe I'll have the same hobbies, likes, and dislikes as you. Wouldn't that make it pretty convenient for me to carry on a conversation with you and become friends with you in an online setting? Sounds like a plan. So how do we identify our critical information? We think about the information that we don't want the adversary to have. And one of the easiest ways to do that is think about what they would do with it. If they had your name and address and pictures of you and your family members and all of their names, what could an adversary do with that? I guess it depends on what your adversary's after. The next step is threat. We have to understand that anyone that has both the intent and the capability to obtain and use our critical information is a threat. Sometimes a threat can be nothing more than a marketing unit, an organization that handles marketing, a company that uses marketing. One of the things that we've seen, and this is very frequent, is that marketers will get information and then use it to try to get more influence with you. Here's a simple situation that happened not so long ago where this lady posted on Facebook she was getting ready to be married. Within days, she just was nailed with all these ads from bands, bridal gown places, anything that dealt with catering in her area. This was all through marketing, and it was all marketed because her information was up on her Facebook account, and the marketers look for that type of information. It's a great way. But again, the problem is they're sending all this stuff to you, but who else is now seeing the exact same information that they're using for marketing? Maybe they're using it from an adversarial perspective. Data brokers collect information. Now, when you signed up for one of whichever SNS you signed up for, whether it's Facebook, MySpace, or etc., you probably didn't spend a lot of time looking at the fine print when you agreed to sign up. The problem is when you didn't read that fine print, you gave your information and the authorization to that company to use the information as they saw fit. Facebook is hooked up with an organization called Regroup, and they sell your information to Regroup. The stuff that we're finding on Regroup is things that you thought were private in Facebook, but you gave Facebook permission to sell it. So we're finding it out through Regroup. Insurance information, maybe biometrics, drug test results, different things that you thought might be private, but then when it's aggregated, and that's one of the biggest concerns, information being aggregated through multiple sources, now you've got some issues, because that aggregated information is what an adversary wants. The more they know, the more information about you they have, the easier you are to target. Now, data brokers, they sell to anyone. If you've got the money, they'll sell it to you. ChoicePoint recently sold information on 400,000 people nationwide to criminals. Simply criminals. How they found out was at least 750 people had suddenly out of nowhere had unauthorized address change paperwork filed. Now, why would an adversary change your address? What kind of information do you get in the mail? Credit card information, bank statements. Maybe it's your birthday. Maybe you got a card from Nana. Maybe there's money in it because Nana still sends money. Who knows? But they changed addresses of 750 people. Their mail was no longer going to them. Sometimes we have to consider our jobs. This lady here had filed on a tweet that she had just recently accepted a job with Cisco, and she was concerned about the difference between a fatty utility paycheck that she was going to be drawing from Cisco and the fact that she really wasn't interested in doing that work. The problem was on her tweet, somebody from Cisco saw that and basically ruined her job, because they felt that if you really don't want to work for Cisco, we really don't want you working for us. So sometimes you have to think about the things you're posting and maybe the things you're saying, like this lady here who complained about her boss but forgot she had friended him. I think it says down there to stop by and pick up your P45, and you can pick up whatever you've got left. Yeah, they fired her because she was talking an awful lot of smack about her boss on the internet. He didn't appreciate it. Now here's a case of a gentleman, Mesa, Arizona. He's getting ready to go on vacation. So what's he do? He tweets that him and his family are going on vacation. Really? Well, lo and behold, he had his Twitter account set up so it would pass information to Facebook. So he's not really sure who robbed him. As he said, I've got it set up where Twitter goes into Facebook, so it could be somebody I know on Facebook. Well, you are Captain Obvious, aren't you? That's brilliant. I'll just post it and hope for the best. Dating sites are an issue that people are starting to realize are a problem. Think about the information. If you're using a dating site, think of the information you're posting. I know there's a company out there, and I don't remember the name, but what do they have? 36 points of interest so they can match you up? Well, how about this site here that says they're the first and best dating site for military singles and their admirers? Well, who might admire having a military boyfriend or girlfriend? Oh, I don't know. I could think of some organizations out there that might be happy to have a military member as a boyfriend or girlfriend. We'll see what happens from that. There's a lot of scams, not just through these dating sites, but there's scams that are going on where people actually start caring about the people that they deal with online. They start having feelings for these people. People might tell them different stories, little different sob stories to make you feel that, these people care enough about you to tell them about their real life. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, they're asking for money. They're wanting things from you. Well, I'm being kicked out of my apartment, and I don't have the money to pay the rent, or I don't have enough money to pay food, or buy food, So we run into the problem where these people are getting scammed online, much like the Nigerian scam that we've heard so much about in the emails, and they're getting scammed for money and falling for it. You hand them the knife, they stab you with it. Now this story is quite interesting. The FBI has stated, based on this simple scam, it's 1,800 times since this one happened in January of last year. 1,800 times this scam has been done. January 21st, Brian Rutberg is sitting in his living room watching TV. His daughter comes running into the room and says, "Daddy, what's wrong?" He says, "What are you talking about? I'm just sitting here watching TV." She goes, "Your Facebook account says you're in urgent need of help." So Brian goes over and logs into his computer, tries to bring up his Facebook account, and he doesn't have access. He calls his wife over. She jumps onto the computer. She tries to log into his account because she's a friend and has access through her Facebook. My God, she doesn't have access either. She's been defriended by Brian. Somebody scammed his account, got a hold of his password, or used some kind of creative way to get access, maybe stole the cookie, and now they had complete control of Mr. Rutberg's Facebook account.